some of the airports that are not revenue generating or not generating enough revenue to cover its operational costs, like Hilo Airport. So my understanding is Hilo Airport generates about $7 million, but costs about $14 million. So what's your plan to try to figure out how these other airports can start to generate more revenue, so that the revenue from from Honolulu or Maui isn't subsidizing these other airports?
Hilo Airport actually has a clause in the lease agreement that until the such time that they actually hit 2 million passengers, they're being subsidized at a 50% when it comes to a lot of the rates and charges that are being applied to them. They actually work at a deficit of about $7.5 million a year. I've tried basically to...
Are you working with HTA?
I'm working with the airlines directly. I've taken airline people to unfortunately, the hotels that are in Hilo. We did a tour of it, and some of them have since, like Uncle Billy's, have gone down. We've seen
it goes back to some of the things we talked about with the DBED. HCDA, we were to revitalize Banyan Drive, and because if we don't look at it more holistically, we're always stuck in these silos and have the same problem. So this is becoming a problem. The other problem with Hilo, or the other challenge with Hilo, is that the cargo space is empty. So what is airports doing to either work with DBED or Department of Ag or CTAR to kind of get maybe ornamentals or whatever the case in Hilo, so we can start using that cargo space for export, import?
Well, that cargo space, we actually have a new cargo building that was there, and to be honest with you, one of the biggest problems we had is that everybody, all of a sudden after we built it, everybody wanted to go there. We have Aloha Cargo, we have Hawaiian Cargo, we have all the different cargo companies that are in there. You're absolutely correct. There is an area that we took them out of and we're putting them into the new one that needs to be torn down, and we need to create more space. But we continue to work with UPS, we continue to work with FedEx to make sure that the cargo is being taken care of Hilo.
Yeah, this is a bigger problem that somehow has to be fixed, because I don't know how long we should keep going on Honolulu or Maui subsidizing some of these other airports. And not to say that they shouldn't be subsidized, but we have to make an effort so that they're not.
Senator, one of the problems is that we basically have 5 main airports. Okay, you have Honolulu, which generates all the revenue. The second one is Kahului, which really does well. Then you got Kona, Ellison Onizuka, and then you have Lehue Airport. They actually barely break even, is what it comes down to. So the only 2 airports within our airport system, and again, Hilo, that makes money is actually Honolulu International Airport and Kahului Airport. So, and we have 15 airports within the airport system, a lot of GA airports, general aviation airports. So the way the airport system was set up is that we have to go ahead and subsidize these airports.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is, if we're going to try to increase demand, if we're going to try to better use cargo space, then we have to start working with some of our other agencies, HTA, DBED, more long-term planning, so that we can kind of get passenger counts up in those specific areas. If not, we're working in silos.
And again, I'll use...
this is why I think Banyan Drive is so important. Every time there's a Banyan Drive bill for revitalization, I haven't seen DOT come up once saying, hey, you know what, that's good for us, because then it'll increase the demand for Hilo Airport. I haven't seen it once. Not once. So the agencies have to start looking upon some of these other bills that will impact their operations.
Okay.
Senator Kahele.
Thank you, Chair. Since we're on the subject of it, I have 2 questions in regards to the Hilo Cargo Facility. And the first one, I guess, is more general to how we procure projects and see projects to fruition. And we have major projects at Hilo or Honolulu Airport right now. But in particular, the Hilo Cargo Airport, immediately after tenants like Aloha Airlines had moved in, the main doors, one of the main doors for that particular bay, within a week of Aloha moving in, was broken and was completely inoperative and needed to be replaced by the tenant. So my question is, where are our contractors and the companies that we spend millions of dollars in contracts to build these facilities? Where's their responsibility to provide warranties and provide operating facilities that literally break a week later? Another example is at the same bay, the Aloha the Aloha I guess the Aloha Bay is the way they designed it is they built the this is the best way for me to show it to you. They built the loading dock in a way where you cannot reverse a container truck and load a container because it's built the wrong way. I mean, it's completely substandard how this facility was built. Like, how do we allow people to get away with that?
You know, this is one of the problems, and I'm not preaching basically, but why being an airport corporation would make a big difference for us. This project basically started during Lingo's years. Okay, Governor Lingo basically allocated money to build this cargo facility. What they did is they decided, because they had limited amount of funds, they decided to build the ramp area. And they had no funds to build the building, the cargo facility. The only reason I remember this well is because, Senator, your father came to me and he said, Ford, you need to go find money and build this building. It's ridiculous that we have all this open space, site work, concrete, everything, and you don't have a building. So working with him, we came up with additional funds to go ahead and build the building. We worked very carefully, and what had happened was that during the Lingo years, the allotments for the space was already pre-assigned based on people who signed letters of intent to commit to that. They committed to the design, they committed to everything else. When we came on board, and of course, Isamoto. Okay, one of the reasons why I was able to move this project forward in a timely manner is because I went to, at that time was Fujioka. And I told him, how can I continue moving this project forward without having to rebid it? And he told me that if you can get them to agree to keep their rates, the contract the same, then you can do it. So I wrote to every single person that put it in, including Isamoto, who was the low bid, who was actually issued the contract at that time. And, you know, he came back and he said, you know what, we'll build it. Okay, now this is years after that he committed to it. So to be honest with you, I put him on the side. I said, why would you do this? You're obviously either going to break even or you're going to lose money. He said, you know what, Ford? I'm going to keep my guys working. And that's what I want to do. So that when the next project comes over, we can just move to it.
But how do we build a facility, release it to a tenant, and then major door breaks a week later, and then the tenant is stuck with the bill? That's not the contractor, it's not the vendor that has to replace it. How does that work?
Well, that's one of the things. When we did all of this, one of the things that I was told that we could not do is that we could not make any changes to the design. You make changes to the design, then you got to go rebid it. So we went back to all the people who signed letters of intent, saying they were going into this building, and everybody said they're fine with it. If anything, they told me, we'll make the changes. So, you know, like, again, some of the flooring, they said, oh no, we need different type of flooring because we're going to put refrigeration units on it and so on and so forth. So they made those tenant improvements. As far as the door is concerned, normally when construction is done, we have a 1-year warranty on it. So if this thing broke within weeks of us giving it to them, the contractor would have replaced it. I don't know the circumstances that you're thinking, but if you bring it to us, we can go look at it history-wise, and we'll try to figure out what happened there.
Another thing is what's happening right now, and maybe the director can talk about it, is between the tenants that are there, so you have Hawaiian Cargo, you have Transair, you have Aloha, there is this either dispute or negotiation about charging these tenants to have their equipment out in the front of their facility. So they have forklifts, they have loaders for the aircraft. That DOT airports is not allowing Aloha Air Cargo, for example, to park their forklift outside of the facility while they're waiting for airplanes to come. That when planes are not there, everything has to be brought inside. And if they do have stuff outside, loaders or any type of equipment, that we're going to charge them for that. Is that the policy? Is that what we're doing right now?
Yes, normally that is the policy. Within the area that they're operating, we give them the ability to go ahead and leave equipment there while they're actually operating. Outside of that, again, because it's just like aircraft, if they're outside of their area, I'll use Hawaiian Air Cargo. You know, they have that ramp area. That ramp area basically was actually a common area. So what Hawaiian Airlines did is they came to us and said, you know what, we want to lease this area so that we can park our aircraft out there, and that's what we did. We have to be able to go ahead and generate funds for it, you know, obviously to keep us self-sufficient, and that's one of the reasons why we go ahead and we can work with them. Now, that being said, again, if they kind of reach out to us, I don't know if they had discussion with the airport system property management people, we'd be more than willing to sit down with them and talk to them, because Well, of course, I don't deal with airports anymore, but
Yeah, right.
this is news to me.
I just think it's unreasonable to have these companies every day bring their stuff back in and out while they're doing operations. I mean, there's got to be some balance behind. We don't want to drive people out of business. We don't want people not to do business in Hawaii.
Oh, no,
we can't
absolutely.
just charge them for every single thing that we can get them on. There's got to be a balance.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. If they're actively loading and unloading, we don't say anything. But if they go home at night and they leave that, that equipment parked in an area that shouldn't be because it's not within their jurisdiction, that's where we have a problem. So again, I don't know the circumstances, but if you kind of work with me with this, and like I said, if they're actively loading and unloading, we never challenge any of
Okay,
that.
we should take this offline then.
Okay.